It's 2012, number 8. So I'm going to explain this using fundamental theorem, and then I'm going to explain it using logic to make it all make sense to you. So what is everything representing here? R of T is the rate at which oil is being pumped. Okay? And another note, your tank starts with 50 liters of oil. That's the starting amount, the amount of oil. And you want to know how much oil there is at the end of 15 hours. So you're pumping oil to a tank. So let me explain this a couple of ways. I'm going to come up with a new function. And you don't have to do this. I'm doing this so you understand. Now, I don't want to use O for oil because that looks like a 0. So let me think of another word for oil, another letter. Let's do V. Why V? Because Valvoline makes oil. And cars go vroom, vroom with oil in them. So V of T, let me explain. Let V of T equal the amount of oil pumped. Now, this is the rate of oil being pumped, right? So that means V prime of T is R of T. Does that make sense? So then, let me do this. If we integrate R of T from, let's go from 4 to 15, what is that going to equal? Okay, and then I'll kind of explain to you. But what is R of T? R of T is V prime of T, right? So that's V prime of T and the antiderivative V prime is V, which is V of 15 minus V of 4. So what does this tell you? This tells you the change in the amount of oil, right? The amount of oil at 15 minus the amount of oil at 4, that's the change in the amount of oil. So it's the amount of oil pumped. So if you take the rate at which oil is being pumped, that tells you the amount of oil that's actually been pumped. Very important concept. Now, this is very interesting because what do we want to know? We want to know the amount of oil at 15, right? We want to know the amount of oil at 15. We want to know V of 15. So to isolate V of 15, we would add V4 to the other side. So let me give you the final formula. V15 equals V4 plus the integral from 4 to 15 of R of T dt. What is this saying? This is huge. This is your big takeaway right here. Because all this stuff I did up here, you shouldn't write down. I did that to explain this problem. But what it's saying, if I want to know the amount of oil after 15 hours, what do? I take the amount of oil I started with, and then I add to that the amount of oil pumped. Because this is the rate at which oil is pumped. If you integrate a rate, it gives you the amount of oil that was pumped. So this should make total sense. You take your starting amount plus the change in the amount of oil, which is the integral of the rate of the amount of oil. So that is how you find the answer. How do we find this integral? They want us to do right Riemann sums with 3 subintervals. So all that was a long explanation of why we do what we do. you technically wouldn't write all this out. What I would expect is just this part. If you understand what's going on, you would just do that. And then, what's V of 4? The amount of oil we started with. How much did we start with? 50 liters. So you have to take your starting amount. And then for this, we're doing right Riemann sums. So 3 intervals. Here are my intervals, 1, 2, 3. What's my right side? This is my right side for my first one. What's the height? It's going to be the function at 7 hours, and the width, 4 to 7, is 3 hours of width. My next interval is going to go from 7 to 12. What's the right-hand side? 12. So it's going to be R at 12, and the width, 7 to 12, is 5. So that's going to be times 5. And then my last interval is going to be from 12 to 15. The right side is 15. So the height of that rectangle is R, the function at 15, and the width from here to here is going to be 3. So times 3. So now it's simplifying. R 7 is 6.2. So it's 6.2 times 3. R of 12 is going to be 5.9. That's going to be 5.9 times 5. And R of 15 is going to be 5.6. 5.6 times 3. And now it's just basic arithmetic. Multiply that, 18.6. What is that, 25? 29.5? I'm hoping I'm adding these right in my head, or multiplying. 16.8. Is that right? Correct me if I'm wrong. Wow, I have to add all these up? Okay, I'm gonna do 2 at a time because I'm not smart enough to do. So 1, carry the 1, 8, carry the 1, 4. And then I'm gonna get 64.9 plus 50 plus 50. Oh man, that would have been bad. That would have been bad, bad, bad. Thank you. So my answer should be 114.9.